Good afternoon. I am Brooke Clement, and as Acting Director of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Library and Museum, it is my pleasure to welcome you as we explore the White House Easter Egg Roll, a family learn-along event with the staff of the White House Historical Association and author Jonathan Pliska. While today's program is geared towards families, we do have more of our traditional author talks coming next month. Join us as General Jim Mattis discusses his book, Call Sign Chaos, Learning to Lead, on April 21st. In addition, the Gerald R. Ford Foundation, Library, and Museum are partnering with the Hauenstein Center on a virtual talk with Professor H.W. Brands on April 22nd. Professor Brands will be discussing his latest book, The Zealot and the Emancipator, John Brown, Abraham Lincoln, and the Struggle for American Freedom. And finally, mark your calendars for the Gerald R. Ford Foundation's annual First Lady Luncheon on April 26th. This year's event will be virtual, and registration information for all of these events are available on our websites. Now, please join me in welcoming Claire Schubert, Director of Engagement and Programming with the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Foundation, as we begin our program.
Thank you, Brooke, and hello, everybody. On behalf of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Foundation, I'd like to welcome you all to our event. I am so excited to learn along with you today about one of my favorite White House traditions, and one I know the Fords enjoyed as well, the White House Easter egg roll. Before I introduce our guests this afternoon, I'd like to invite you to use the Q&A box all throughout the program to ask your questions. You don't have to wait until the end. We will get to as many of those questions as we can after the presentation, but please go ahead and type those in as they pop into your head. And if you used our online form to ask your questions already, don't worry, I have them here and ready to go. I also want to let you know that after we learn from our friends at the White House Historical Association and our guest author, Jonathan Pliska, we will be doing an Easter-themed art project. So kids, if you'd like to join me with that, you will need a piece of paper, a white crayon, some colorful markers, some tape. The best kind of tape to use is going to be like a painter's tape, or I have like an electrical tape, and some colorful chalk. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first guest today, our friends coming to us from the White House Historical Association, the Director of K-12 Education, Samantha Hunter-Gibbs, and Assistant Director of K-12 Education, Ken O'Regan. Samantha and Ken are going to take us on a fun journey to learn all about the history of the White House Easter egg roll. I'm going to join the audience with you all right now and learn right alongside of you, but I'll be back at the end for some crafts and audience Q&A. Welcome, Samantha and Ken.
Thank you, Claire. Well, hello there, everyone. We are so excited to be learning with you all today and talking about a really fun event that takes place at the White House Easter egg roll. Like Claire said, myself and my colleague Ken are here from the White House Historical Association. So before we dive into our information today, we do want to take the time to introduce ourselves.
And I am Ken O'Regan. I am the Assistant Director of K-12 Education at the White House Historical Association. So, that's us.
That's us.
What is the White House what is the White House Historical Association? We are a private, nonpartisan nonprofit based in Washington, D.C., just around the corner from the White House, and we work to protect, preserve, and provide public access to the People's House. That's another name for the White House. That means that we help to care for a lot of the objects that are in the White House, and we tell stories about the White House and its history because it allows us to learn a lot about American history and how we can all relate to one another as Americans.
That's right. And another job that we have at the White House Historical Association is to work with the White House to share information about big events, just like the White House Easter egg roll. The White House Easter egg roll is a celebration on the Monday after Easter when families from all over the country are invited to come to the White House and participate in games and activities on the lawn. In this picture, we see the Easter egg roll event in action in 1982.
Now, this event has been going on since 1878. President Rutherford B. Hayes actually opened the White House grounds to children who wanted to roll eggs in 1878. Before that, children used to participate in egg races and egg rolling on the grounds of the Capitol over on Capitol Hill, but that stopped happening because the people at the Capitol got really mad about the mess that the egg roll left. Broken eggs, mud everywhere. Just imagine hundreds and hundreds of kids running up and down Capitol Hill. It started to do a number on the place.
So the Easter egg roll has all sorts of activities and games, many of which are now considered traditions because they've been going on for so many years. So before we talk about the Easter egg roll traditions, we want to hear about some of your Easter traditions. So please feel free to go ahead and share those with us in that Q&A box now or at any time during the program. And we'll start off by Ken and I sharing our own traditions. So one of my favorite Easter traditions in my family is dyeing Easter eggs. My mom and I are both very creative and a little bit competitive, and we like to draw and paint. So we work really hard to create beautifully designed eggs every single year, and it's one of my favorite traditions.
And in my house growing up, my mother always made scones on Easter morning, and we'd always have tea, coffee, or whatever with our scones every Easter. Always looked forward to that. And then we'd hunt for Easter eggs, my sister and I, in our backyard, and they'd always have candy and chocolate and things in them. Really just like the candy and chocolate part of Easter is definitely my favorite part of Easter. And just like in general, candy and chocolate is just my favorite part of most things. So
Awesome. So we have here in the chat, Deborah says, we dye eggs and we hunt eggs and we decorate, and they also have special cupcakes. That sounds amazing. So if you've got any other traditions you want to share throughout the program, please feel free to go ahead and put those in the Q&A box.
All right. And now talking about traditions at the Easter egg roll at the White House. The first one we're going to talk about is music. Music has always been an important part of the Easter egg roll. The U.S. Marine Band, which you see on the right side here, sometimes known as the President's Own, often plays music at the egg roll. So you can see them on the South Lawn right there marching and playing music. So let's take a minute to listen to a little bit of their music that you might hear at the egg roll. This is a clip from John Philip Sousa, Easter Monday at the White House. Now, you can find that online on the Marine Band's website if you want to listen to more, but you can hear how that song kind of has a good, airy, springtime, festive feel to it. Sometimes the United States Air Force Band in the left side of the picture here, and then the Army's Fife and Drum Corps in the middle picture also play at the Easter egg roll. Now, the Fife and Drum Corps, you can see them in their uniforms. They wear uniforms that are modeled after the ones that musicians in General George Washington's Continental Army wore. At that time, musicians actually wore colors opposite of the soldiers. So Washington's soldiers wore blue coats. The musicians, like the ones in this picture, wore red. And in addition to military bands, many presidents have invited other musical guests like popular children's singers or radio artists to the White House Easter egg roll to perform. The one that pops into my mind is Dina Menzel attending the 2016 Easter egg roll to sing Let It Go from the movie Frozen.
That's right. And the Easter egg hunt has always been an exciting part of the Easter egg roll. So, maybe for some of you, an Easter egg hunt is a part of your traditions during Easter time. So the photo on the left here actually shows children participating in an Easter egg hunt at the White House all the way back in 1889. But then we know that this tradition continues today, and we can see that in this picture on the right, where we see a volunteer hiding eggs for the egg hunt during the event in 2015.
Right, and in addition to the egg hunt, there is the actual egg roll race, another beloved aspect of the event and the namesake of it. So this involves participants rolling their decorated eggs along a course on the White House lawn using a long wooden spoon and racing to cross the finish line first. So the picture on the right, you can see children participating in the race in 1982, and the picture on the left shows the race in action in 2015. The picture in the middle is the setup of the egg racing course from 2018. The history behind egg rolling is complicated, but it has been a tradition in the Washington, D.C. area since the early to mid 1800s.
There are many other games that take place at the Easter egg roll too that have nothing to do with eggs. So the first picture here on the left shows kids playing tennis at the White House while they attended the egg roll in 2019. And then the picture on the right is a picture of the Egg-tivity zone at the Easter egg roll in 2015. The Egg-tivity zone included things like hula hoops, obstacle courses, and all kinds of other activities that kept participants moving. Local sports teams often set up game stations where kids can play basketball, soccer, baseball, and football too. There's so many fun games that you can enjoy at the Easter egg roll.
And as the White House Easter egg roll has grown over the years, there's been more and more other activities available to attendees of all ages. So egg dyeing and decorating, of course, is a popular activity, as are special drawing classes hosted by talented artists. Children can sit down and they can learn how to draw, say, the Easter Bunny, which is what you see in the middle picture here, or cartoon versions of the presidents in step-by-step drawing classes.
There's a lot of other activities that go on as well, like hopscotch, like we see in the picture on the right here, or even balloon art, which we're seeing here on the left. That picture actually shows a net over the area where kids were doing an activity with balloons so that all the balloons didn't go away. Some egg rolls have also featured cooking activities, science experiments, and even yoga. Many children also play their own games on the lawn while they attend with their family and friends.
Another big tradition at the Easter egg roll is the inclusion of different characters and mascots. Now, the Easter Bunny first visited the White House Easter egg roll in 1969 during the Richard Nixon administration. The Easter Bunny was invited by First Lady Pat Nixon with some special help from her staff. Other Easter characters are also a common sight at the Easter egg roll, like big baby chicks and an assortment of other bunnies, perhaps the Easter Bunny's associates, etc. Popular children's characters also attend the event. Characters from books and television like Clifford the Big Red Dog, the gang from Paw Patrol, and Sesame Street characters like Cookie Monster have all attended the egg roll over the years. And lastly, local Washington, D.C. sports mascots also attend, most notably the Washington Nationals baseball team, Racing Presidents, who are 11, 12-foot tall caricatures of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, you see kneeling down in the middle here, that's how tall he is, Abraham Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt. They join in on the fun on the South Lawn and take photos with attendees and play some games on their own. Now, here's a few photos that I've taken as an attendee of the Easter egg roll over the last several years. I've gone a handful of times over the past decade. The Easter egg roll has really kind of grown into this big event. And the picture that you see on the left here is actually taken about 5:30 in the morning. Not only is it a great day for families and kids to come play at the White House, but it's also a good opportunity for the president and the first family and the staff of the White House to kind of relax and have a very lighthearted day of business at the White House. Naturally, reporters and TV cameras, etc., like to come and set up and capture all the events so people all over the country can see it. And there can be this kind of communication through the egg roll. The two other pictures, the one in the middle and then on the right side, are from the 2017 egg roll of the Trump family participating in some of the games and activities. You can see President Trump, his son Barron, and First Lady Melania Trump in the middle, coloring with children. And then on the right is sort of the catch-all of everything we've been talking about. We have the Marine Band, we have the First Family, and then if you look in the background, you can actually see the Easter Bunny coming down the steps of the South Portico to join the event.
So in 2021, there won't be an Easter egg roll event at the White House due to COVID-19, but there are still plenty of ways that you can celebrate and get in on the fun. So the White House Historical Association has created fun, virtual, Easter and springtime themed activities that you can do at home. And there are still 2021 White House Easter egg roll souvenir eggs available. Starting during the Reagan administration in 1981, these wooden eggs were made as souvenirs and have become a big new tradition. So here we see the 2021 eggs, that golden egg in the middle, that's Champ and Major, who are the first dogs in the White House right now. And then you see in the other eggs, we have a bunny with a mask on, kind of marking the time that we're in. And you can always visit our website, which is whitehousehistory.org. And right on our main page, you'll see all of the different virtual activities you can explore and take part in, including our virtual scavenger hunt in the White House, our bingo card, our coloring page, and a couple other things there that we hope you enjoy doing virtually.
So we hope you enjoyed that little bit of egg roll history there. If you have questions, remember, hold on to them or put them in the chat, and we will get to all of those things later. And now I want to pass this off to John Pliska, who will be reading a part of his story for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm super duper excited to be here. Thanks for that introduction. Like you heard, my name's John Pliska, and I'm the author of the White House Easter egg roll book. And we subtitled it A History for All Ages, because it really is something that everybody can enjoy and have fun with. And I'm particularly happy to be speaking to everybody today because this is a mixed group. We've got parents and we've got children, so it really is a history for all ages. So the White House Easter egg roll has been going on for almost 150 years. And in all that time, the event has only really ever been canceled a handful of times. And mostly this was during World War I and World War II, and then also in the 1940s and 1950s during the Truman renovation. And then of course last year, and unfortunately this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And during normal non-COVID years, I'd spend the day signing books at the White House Historical Association's bookstore, which is just a stone's throw away from the White House inside that building. It's kind of a pinkish reddish color that you see on the right. But while I'm doing that, the artist that made all the wonderful drawings for the book is actually on hand on the White House grounds. He's an active participant in the egg roll. He's one of those entertainers, and he was actually the gentleman that was doing the drawings in the photographs you just saw. His name's John Hutton. He's super nice and he's a ton of fun. He's an art professor. That's his day job, but his real vocation, what he loves to do, is children's books and children's illustrations, and he's on hand for something crazy like 14 hours every Easter Monday, teaching kids how to draw the president and the Easter bunny and pretty much anything else they want to do. And so just getting into the history of the Easter egg roll. So following a tradition that began in 1878, the president and first lady welcomed children and their families onto the White House grounds to celebrate Easter Monday with a fun-filled day that is now one of the oldest and most popular annual events in the history of the White House. The lucky guests gather to roll brightly dyed, hard-boiled eggs down the sloped south lawn, and over the years, other activities, including games, music, story time, and dancing, to name only a few, have been added to ensure that everyone has a good time. And now I'd like to read some selections from the book. Unfortunately, because we only have so much time, I won't be able to read the whole thing, but this should give you a good overview of what the book's like, and also really just an overview of the whole long history of the egg roll. The White House grounds, which span more than 18 acres of parkland, are perfect for rolling Easter eggs, but the South Lawn has always been the president's backyard, and that's a place where the first family relaxes. The yearly Easter egg roll is also a special opportunity for the public to come inside the fence and enjoy this beautiful space as well. So Presidents Andrew Johnson and Ulysses S. Grant are said to have hosted the first White House egg rolls in the mid-1860s and 1870s, but these were really just small gatherings limited to family and close friends. First Lady Eliza Johnson, who was sort of a frail woman, sat on the south portico and delighted in watching her grandchildren play. So pretty typical grandma activity there. The three youngest grandchildren, Buck, Nellie, and Jesse, always attracted attention when they set foot on the grounds, and they were likely the first presidential kids to roll eggs at Easter time. But the biggest and best egg rolls from this time period took place down the street on the grounds of the United States Capitol. Just when this custom began is uncertain, but Capitol Hill had been hosting crowds of happy children for many decades. One story holds that First Lady Dolly Madison first suggested a public egg roll way back in 1814. The children always enjoyed themselves very much on Capitol Hill, but they also left a terrible mess behind every year. And tired of cleaning up after them, Congress finally outlawed egg rolling on the Capitol grounds after the 1876 event. Although the news came as a sad shock to the children, a bad rainstorm kept everybody indoors in 1877. Thankfully, President Rutherford B. Hayes came to the rescue in 1878 when he invited the youngsters to come and roll their eggs at the White House. About 200 children quickly accepted his offer and made themselves quite at home on the South Lawn. And today we have about 30,000, 20 to 30,000 attendees on any given year. And this, in 1878 with Hayes, marks the official beginning of the annual White House Easter egg roll. And in 1889, President Benjamin Harrison thrilled the crowd by adding live music to the Easter egg roll. With his 2-year-old grandson, he stepped onto the South Portico just as the Marine Band, which we were treated to some of their music just prior. The Marine Band was known as the President's Own, and they struck up a rousing march, and it was led by the famed conductor John Philip Sousa. The band performed all day for the children's entertainment. These concerts quickly became a highlight of the annual White House Easter egg roll, and the Marine Band continues to provide entertaining music to this day. You can see them performing here. That's John Philip Sousa conducting them, and the President Harrison and his grandchildren are on the South Portico enjoying themselves. At the bottom, you might notice a goat. That's actually the president's grandkid's pet. His name was His Whiskers because he had a big bushy beard. He was a billy goat. And so the goat's kind of an unusual pet, but as we'll be seeing as I continue doing some readings for you guys, the presidential pets have always been a big part of the Easter egg roll, and some of the pets, like this goat, are a little bit more unusual than others. And President Cleveland returned to the White House for a second term in 1893. He had actually been the president before Benjamin Harrison. And when he got back, President Cleveland enthusiastically resumed his role as host for the Easter Monday festivities. His young daughters, Ruth and Esther, also eagerly joined in the fun, as did their mother, First Lady Frances Cleveland, who was reported to have romped and played like a schoolgirl. Cleveland himself happily tried his luck at some kind of odd-sounding games, like egg picking. And this was a game in which rivals took turns knocking hard-boiled eggs together, and you scored a win if the opponent's egg cracked first. Children also organized other games too, like egg ball, toss and catch, even egg croquet. And before long, because of all these games, the odor of broken eggs could be smelled some 3 miles away. So in the 19th century, the White House Easter egg roll had a lot of fun, but it was also very, very messy and very smelly. And with the popular Theodore Roosevelt's moving into the White House just after the turn of the 20th century, the attendance at the annual event quickly skyrocketed. It grew so huge that pretty much something had to be done in order to limit the crowd size. And in 1905, adults were banned unless they were accompanied by a child. And today, you also adults cannot get in without children. It's first and foremost an event for kids. However, back in 1905, those adults denied entry simply resorted to borrowing children from outside the gates, and opportunistic kids quickly realized that they could earn some pocket money from this change in policy. At least one boy made a small fortune, one dime at a time, by escorting wave after wave of new parents onto the South Lawn. So, you know, this kid obviously had a career in business ahead of him. And President Warren G. Harding and his wife, First Lady Florence Harding, took great pleasure in resuming the annual White House Easter egg roll in 1921, rather. And this had been after a 3-year interruption due to World War I. And the holiday once again drew capacity crowds, even when the presidential couple were not personally in attendance. And such was the case in 1923, when the Hardings' pet dog, an Ariel Terrier named Laddie Boy, hosted the day in their stead. And here we see Laddie Boy on a specially constructed throne chair. That's his handler behind him holding his leash. He was probably the most popular thing at this particular egg roll. I dare say even more popular than the actual egg roll itself. He was a very, very good boy. He posed for a lot of pictures with kids that day. And on April 18th, 1927, First Lady Grace Coolidge, who was the wife of President Calvin Coolidge, introduced her egg rolling guests to Rebecca, her pet raccoon. And Rebecca had actually been sent to the Coolidges as a gift from Mississippi to be part of the White House Thanksgiving feast the previous fall. But she was surprisingly friendly and well-behaved, and so wound up as one of the most unusual and most beloved presidential pets of all time. When not presiding over egg rolls, Rebecca lived in her own treehouse, bathed in the White House bathtubs, draped herself around the president's neck, and even fell asleep in Mrs. Coolidge's arms. And then in 1929, the White House Easter egg roll took place on April Fool's Day, but there were no pranks or tricks. Instead, concerned that there might not be enough eggs to go around, President Herbert Hoover had a crate of eggs that had been given to him by the governor of Kansas, hard-boiled, dyed in bright colors, and handed out to the children. First Lady Lou Hoover put her own stamp on the day by inviting Girl Scouts to perform traditional Native American, Swedish, and English folk dances around a maypole. The White House Easter egg roll was also broadcast live on the radio for the first time, and people all over the country were able to enjoy the Marine Band's music that way. Now, as you might guess, putting on the annual White House Easter egg roll is a big job. The event could not be possible without a small army of both staff and volunteers. But among the most important of all people are the members of the National Park Service. And that's because they more or less run the event. And so the National Park Service folks are the ones you might see at places like Yellowstone or Yosemite or the Grand Canyon or Gettysburg National Battlefield. But they also have an important role to play 365 days a year on the White House grounds. And that's because the National Park Service took over responsibility for the care and maintenance of the White House grounds during President Kennedy's term. And a playground installed on the South Lawn for the Kennedys' 4-year-old daughter, Caroline, attracted a great deal of attention from children at the 1962 egg roll. And the White House guards, unfortunately, had to patiently explain to child after child that Caroline wouldn't be able to play with them since she was away at the time with her parents vacationing in Palm Beach, Florida. And obviously, because we're all here today by the gracious support of the Ford Foundation and the Ford Library, we have to talk about President Gerald Ford and First Lady Betty Ford. In 1976, the Fords became the first presidential couple to attend the Easter egg roll since the Eisenhowers in 1960. So that's almost 2 decades. And Mrs. Ford that year introduced Ukrainian egg decorating demonstrations, which is kind of the, I think, the inspiration for this really fun egg decorating activity we're all going to participate in a little bit. And the Fords also gave out plastic eggs with a printed note inside as souvenirs. Plastic eggs were also used in the egg roll that year, but real eggs returned briefly in 1977. And since then, there have been no major amounts of real eggs used at the at the White House Easter egg roll, probably because of the cleanup and just the general mess involved. And here we see the Ukrainian egg decorators teaching the children all about how to decorate their eggs. It was a smashing success, no pun intended, and the kids really enjoyed themselves. And in addition to that, there were prizes given out for all of the children that won their individual egg roll competitions. There were also other entertainments. There were clowns and magicians and musicians and also puppeteers. And for their first Easter Monday celebration in 1993, President Bill Clinton and First Lady Hillary Clinton expanded the White House Easter egg roll to include the grounds of the ellipse below the South Lawn, but otherwise sort of scaled back the day's fanfare a little bit. The Clintons instead chose to focus on the time-honored egg rolling games that have so long defined the event. And the next year, their cat Socks good-naturedly lent his paw print to the design of the commemorative wooden egg. In 1998, the White House Easter egg roll was streamed live over the internet for the first time, allowing people everywhere to remotely share in the fun. And of course, today, in the age of COVID, that online streaming is going to be even more important. We're already looking forward to getting hopefully back on the grounds in 2022, and it would be really great if we could see all of you there in a year from now. And President George W. Bush and First Lady Laura Bush celebrated the first White House Easter egg roll of the 21st century in 2001. 2 years later, in 2003, they closed the general egg roll and replaced it with a smaller event for children of active duty and reserve military personnel serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. About 12,000 people attended that particular event, and then the White House Easter egg roll reopened to the general public in 2004. And here we see the President and First Lady at their Support the Troop events. And of course, there's also the two terriers there. That's Miss Beasley and Barney, who were a big hit at the event, just like all the presidential pets have been. And then more recently, President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama hosted the White House Easter egg roll for 8 years, from 2009 through 2016. And they used the event to stress the importance of a healthy, active lifestyle. As part of her Let's Move campaign, Mrs. Obama used fresh fruits and vegetables harvested from the White House kitchen garden to create a kids' kitchen, where chefs showed children how to make tasty, nutritious snacks. She also staged an obstacle course to promote daily exercise, and the president shot hoops with children on the White House basketball court. Since 2009, tickets to the White House Easter egg roll have been distributed via an online lottery, and this allows people from across the United States an equal chance to attend in person. So here's the president playing some basketball during one of the events, and that is Bo, the Obama's pet Portuguese water dog, wearing bunny ears, and that is just about the cutest thing ever. And that's not something we made up for the book. He actually wore those ears around, and there's photos to back it up. You can Google them; they'll pop right up. And with that, I am going to turn it back over. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, John, so much for sharing that beautiful book with us. I know I was on mute over here, but I was laughing out loud quite a few times. I'm thinking I'm going to try that hard-boiled egg game at home. That sounds like fun. Okay, so we're going to get into an art and craft project, but before we do that, we had a lot of people talk about and share in the chat their Easter traditions. So I want to make sure we share a few of those. So Ariana says that she goes to grandma's and hunts for eggs. And Garrett says that this year they made peep houses. That sounds adorable and also yummy. We have a viewer who makes potato salad with their hard-boiled eggs. Also sounds very yummy. Deborah, you sound like a wonderful grandma. Deborah puts clues and treats in eggs for a scavenger hunt, so it prolongs the anticipation of grandchildren finding their baskets. Oh, that sounds like just so much fun. So a tradition that we have at my house is we love to color eggs in many different ways before Easter. So we're going to share a screen with you now and show you step by step a few ways that you can decorate eggs as well. But I think for now, we're just going to decorate some eggs on paper, but you can do some of these same strategies with real eggs. Okay, so if you're going to create along with me at home, you are going to want to have 2 printed egg templates. Now, I just found mine online on a cool website called Skip to My Lou, but you can just draw an egg shape on your paper too. You're also going to want a white crayon, some markers, some tape, and like I said in the beginning, the best kind of tape for this is like a painter's tape or an electrical tape that doesn't stick too much to your paper. So you're not going to want to use like the clearer tape. You might also want a pair of scissors and some colorful chalk. Now you saw in Jonathan's book that Betty Ford, First Lady Betty Ford, invited Ukrainian egg decorators to the egg roll to teach children about this really beautiful way of decorating eggs. So there's lots of different ways to decorate eggs, and this way, I noticed Jonathan didn't try to pronounce this. I'm going to try to pronounce it pisanka. Pisanka are eggs that are created using a wax resist method. And it actually comes from a word that means to write. So they actually write on the eggs with wax and then color over it. Now, the eggs we create today aren't going to come near to the beauty of the pisanka eggs. If you have a chance, have a grown-up pull up a YouTube video and show you how they're created, because it's really kind of an amazing process. But we can still explore this process of using wax resist in our own pictures. So, okay, get ready. You're gonna want your paper first. So here's my paper with my egg template on it, and then your white crayon. So you're just gonna take that white crayon and draw designs right onto your egg. Now it's going to be kind of hard to see. It's almost like we're using invisible ink here. So I used my white crayon and I made some different lines, some shapes, some hearts, some circles. So if you're creating along with me at home, go ahead and do that step now. I'm going to go through this step by step with you, and you can work at your own pace. But if you want to share those pictures of your art with us, please do. You can send it to education@38foundation.org. We would love to see your pictures when you're all done. Okay, so you're taking your white crayon, you're drawing whatever designs you want on that white paper, and then we'll go to the next slide here. And now here's the fun part. You're going to take your markers, whatever color you want. I find like the dark colors work a little bit better. And just take your marker and go right over your wax. And the wax is resisting the ink from your marker, just like it resists the dye in the pisanka eggs. So you'll take your marker and color over that white crayon, and you can see there's my designs kind of showing up. I'm sure yours are amazing. So you can use whatever colors you want. You do not need to go in stripes like I did with mine, but just go ahead and color and reveal those wax designs that you made with your crayon. And then once you have it all colored in, you're finished. If you want to, you can cut out that egg and glue it onto some construction paper, or you can leave it just like that. But there you go. You used a wax resist method to dye an egg. Now, I have done this with real eggs at home. After they're hard boiled, draw little shapes or your name or whatever you want on that hard boiled egg, and then dip it into the dye. And guess what? It's going to resist that wax again, and your designs will show up. All right, there's another way we're going to use kind of a resist method to create an egg design. So again, I just have white paper with an egg template on it. Remember, you don't want to use a tape that's going to stay stuck onto your egg. So really like a painter's tape, or I used electrical tape that worked pretty good. So you're going to get your tape ready, you're going to get scissors ready, and your paper. And then the next thing you're going to do is cut pieces of that tape and just stick them anywhere you want on your egg. There is really not a wrong way to do this. And you can even see like my tape is kind of coming off the edge there. That's okay. tape it however you want and make your design. It kind of looks cool just like that. But the next thing we're gonna do is take our chalk. Now, I thought chalk was a fun thing to use, but you can really use markers or crayons for this too. Then take your chalk and color in those different sections that you created with your tape. Now, once again, you might notice, whoa, she went out of the lines. I sure did. And if you're like me and you go out of the lines sometimes too, that's perfect for this. You just want to make sure you color in all the way each section, because the next thing you're going to do is remove the tape. Now you have to kind of do this carefully, especially if you had a sticky tape. And you can see that one piece of tape is removed and hey, it resisted where the tape was, right? So I've got a white stripe there. And if you keep pulling those pieces of tape off, you'll have those kind of cool white stripes, almost starts to look like a stained glass window type of thing. And for this one, because I was a little messy and I did go out of the lines, I'm gonna go ahead and cut mine out, because guess what? Then no one sees that I went out of the line. So I cut out both of those eggs, I put them onto some colorful paper, and hey, you can use those to decorate, you can give them as a gift. Just a really kind of fun way to use that wax resist method to create some really creative and beautiful eggs in your house this year. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you created along with us at home, I hope that you'll email us a copy of your picture. Just take a picture of it and email it in to education@38foundation.org. Okay. It is time for some Q&A from our audience. So I'm going to invite all of our friends back to the screen. Samantha, Ken, John, come on back. We've got all sorts of questions. And because I love a theme, I've got questions in eggs. So here we go. The first question. Okay. A lot of people asked this. This was our most asked question, but Vanessa asked this question and so did Nadine from Ohio, but a whole bunch of people in the Q&A box did too. How do people get to go to the actual egg roll? You mentioned there was a lottery. Where can people go? And if they really, really want to go next year, what's the best tip for getting a ticket to the event?
You want to go, Ken, or do you want me to take it?
Say you go ahead.
Perfect. So the White House actually has a lottery for tickets every year because they want everyone to have a fair chance to be able to get tickets to attend. So the dates for the lottery kind of shift because the date of Easter shifts. But as an example, let's say for 2020, before things had to be canceled, Easter was April 13th. So that lottery opened up at the end of February, and then folks were notified in the first week of March, and they found out if they got a ticket through that lottery or not. So I would say, depending on the date of Easter, kind of at the start of the year, start to poke around, keep an eye on the White House website, and you'll hear that announcement about the lottery and how you can put your name in to try to get a ticket.
Okay. All right. Oh, and I love the part of the book where the kids were making money accompanying the grownups into the event. Oh my gosh. Okay. That was funny. Smart little enterprising boy there. Okay. This question, it comes to us from Texas. This question is from Lisa. Her question is about the souvenir eggs. She wants to know, I think we might have talked a little bit about when that tradition started, and is curious to know what kind of souvenir was given out by President Ford.
Cool. So the tradition of souvenir eggs goes back a little bit. The first wooden souvenir eggs came around in 1981 during the Ronald Reagan administration. And these wooden eggs actually had handwritten, Happy Easter messages on them. And some of them were also signed or had autographs of famous people on them. And in more recent years, the designs for the eggs have been usually done by the White House or the First Lady's office. They'll come up with a clever little design that is unique to their administration. Like, we were saying, John was saying that Sox Clinton had a paw print on an egg. This year we have Champ and Major Biden on an egg. The Obama's dogs have been featured on the eggs. So there's a number of inspirations for that. And then the Ford eggs, I think did we have the
Right. I think,
yeah.
Jonathan, you know a little something about that. So the tradition started after the Ford administration, didn't start till 1981, but there was a special souvenir that kids got. And Jonathan, did you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, so the Ford during the Ford years, I think the eggs themselves were just sort of those ubiquitous plastic ones that everybody I think of any age can immediately identify. And inside there was basically just a short little note of welcome from the Fords. But so that the eggs themselves were not the actual commemorative part. It was the little note inside. And then also as part of a handout, basically when the kids were coming onto the grounds, they were handed a special poem that Mrs. Ford had penned. And do we have the image of that? Maybe.
I think that we do, but maybe we don't. But guess what? If you can anyone can head to the Gerald Ford Library website, and you can actually find, it was called The Rhyme for Easter Time. Magic, here it is, A Rhyme for Easter Time. And like I was saying, though, you can go to the Ford Library webpage and find a copy of this there. You can also even find where people were writing the poem and making little notes, scratching things off. No, we should say this. I think the rhyme should say this. So it's really fun to really see kind of the originals and how these things come to be. So there on the screen is The Rhyme for Easter Time, which would have been the souvenir at that event. How sweet. Okay, all right, our next question. Okay, this question in the pretty blue egg comes from Ariana, who, by the way, just loves history. Hi, Ariana, thanks for watching. She's coming from Caledonia, Michigan. Okay, she has a lot of questions. Some of them we've talked about. She has questions about music and what kind of music they play now. She wants to know if the Easter Bunny is there. We talked a little bit about that, but she also wants to know how many people attend.
You guys want
to? Lots and lots of people attend. I think, what was the number? About 12,000.
Yeah, sometimes it's been even like 20 and almost even pushing 30. It's done in shifts nowadays. So you and I think it's like 2-hour shifts that pretty much go from very early in the morning, just barely sun up, and then pretty much all the way to sundown. So when John Hutton, the amazing artist behind all the wonderful images in my book, when I say he was working all day, I literally mean that. He's a real trooper.
Yeah, you actually saw that. I think there was a page of John's book where you can see sort of the staging outside of the White House grounds. So not only is this huge event happening on the grounds, but thousands of people are also waiting outside of the grounds on the ellipse, and they kind of get organized that way and all come in at the designated times. I'm pretty sure in recent years that first shift has been 7 a.m. and it goes until sundown.
Wow, I had no idea that many people went to that event. That's huge.
And that's why it takes so many people, volunteers and staff members from all over the place, but especially the National Park Service, to pull this off. Because then pretty much the next day, the White House grounds have to go back to what they're like at any other day.
Well, thank goodness for changing from the real eggs to the fake egg.
Yeah,
that was a big cleanup job. But really, what a special event, and what a great way to really invite the people to the people's house for a celebration. So really cool. Okay, next question in this pretty peach egg comes from Michael. Michael is watching from Flint, Michigan. Where does the White House get the eggs?
So there's two different kinds of eggs that we're talking about, the egg roll. There's the actual real physical eggs, and then there's the wooden eggs. The wooden eggs, these wooden souvenir eggs, at least over the last decade or so, I believe, have been sourced from a couple different like wood turning factories in Maine. The one of them is Maine Wood Concepts, and the other one is Wells Wood Turning. So between these two companies, I believe they've covered most of the eggs in about the last decade. This also being the egg roll, I mean, we noted that the usage of real eggs has sharply declined, but there are still, hard-boiled eggs that are rolled, and there are also hard-boiled eggs to be enjoyed by attendees that you can get. There's always a big stand with a bunch of egg characters walking around, and they're passing out hard-boiled eggs as snacks. So those are coming from, farms around the DC area and around the United States as a whole.
Okay, I've got, speaking of eggs, one more question in my egg basket here. And this question comes from Kellen, who is 6 and watching from Georgia. How many years has the egg roll happened at the White House?
That is a very good question. The egg roll has actually been going on since 1878. So many, many years. This is a long tradition. And even before that, kids in the DC area used to roll eggs on the grounds of the Capitol before it got moved to the White House. So this has been a tradition for a really long time.
There's been a handful of years in there since 1878 where the egg roll has either, well, in a year like this, it's been canceled. In 2020, it was canceled because of the pandemic. But there have been other occasions where it's either been canceled or it has been moved to a slightly different location. I know there were some years, I think it was during either World War I or World War II, that it happened actually at the Washington Monument, happened on the National Mall. So for the most part, since 1878, it has happened at the White House, but not every single year.
Yeah, so that's over 140 years of the event, and there have been no more than maybe 10 or a dozen cancellations in that time.
That sounds right.
Okay, well, that was our last question. I learned so much. This was so fun to explore this a little bit more with all of you. I want to extend a big thank you to Samantha and Ken and to the White House Historical Association. Would you like to give us your website one more time? Because I know you have a ton of fun Easter egg roll activities on there right now.
Of course. Our website is www.whitehousehistory.org.
Check it out because there's lots of fun to be had on that site, and for the grown-ups watching too. I mean, I could spend hours on this site looking at all of these old archival photos. It's so fun and such a great way to learn about history. Also, a big thanks to Jonathan Pliska for sharing his beautiful book with us. You can get your own copy at shop.whitehousehistory.org and also on Amazon. And Jonathan, you have a couple more children's books. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about your other titles?
Yeah, so I have, just one at the moment, and it's called President's Play, and it's all about the leisure activities of the presidents, mostly sports. President Ford is in there too. And yes, and that was a really fun book to do. That's geared more toward much younger readers, sort of young kids. And the art in there is also equally amazing because it's, again, by the one and only John Hutton.
Excellent. I actually have both books at my house, and they are so fun. So thank you for what you do, Jonathan.
Thank you.
And to all of our students, our kiddos, our families, our teachers that are watching, thank you for joining us today. And I want to let you know that the Gerald Ford Foundation offers free virtual learning programs for students of all ages. So please check those out on our website. And we're really proud that we are able to offer that kind of programming at no cost to you and at no cost to schools, thanks to the generous donations of our members. So if you would like to learn more about how you can become a member and help us provide these high quality classes for kids at no cost to schools, please visit our website, geraldrfordfoundation.org. So thank you for watching and learning with us today. Happy spring. Bye, everybody.